Hello everyone and welcome to Godot Jam. It started a couple of hours ago and if you don't know already, the theme is growth. So what we're going to do in this session, we have prepared a small partner stream. So some partners that have worked together on this jam will join me. They're actually here, by the way, in discussing team ideas, possibilities for games that you can develop, or us if we're competing ourselves. And also, we're going to discuss the upcoming events, what's going to happen in the next couple of days, plus some surprises. So if that sounds awesome, then stick around because this is what we're going to do. And by the way, please tell me if you hear me, if you hear the other partners speaking, and yeah, let's get going. So I'm going to introduce who is in the call right now. So yeah, it's switched. So we have here, starting from top to bottom, first we have BitBrain. And
Hey,
by the way, we
everyone.
also have some reaction faces down below, so you can see the channel names popping up. So BitBrain, then we have Jan from Canopy Games,
Hi.
and Aaron from ACB Games.
Hey,
Yeah.
everybody.
So please do tell me if you hear everyone. So otherwise, I need to adjust some things here, but yeah, should be just fine. So let's get started already with the team. So as you probably know, it's growth. So yeah, just let's shoot with some random ideas first and see where the discussion is going. So who
Random
wants to
ideas
start?
of where to go with growth.
Yeah, exactly.
It always reminds me of that, the old game of life, like that old maths. I forget the name of the guy who wrote it, but you start with very, very simple cellular automata and see where it goes. I think it'd be really fun to see like a procedural, like you draw a seed and see a dungeon grow out of it.
That's a cool idea. I like that.
Are you talking about Spore?
Well, I'm talking about, the old game of life that was written back in the 70s or 80s, where you draw like a little pattern and
Oh, no. That's cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
Spore would be good too, but yeah. What's the name of the guy who did that?
How would the dungeon grow? Like, would it be automatically, or does the player do that? Or
I'd use a tile set.
Mm-hmm.
So you build in like a procedural, like a Spelunky type
Yep.
dungeon map, but the pattern that you've drawn that grows out after so many iterations determines the shape of the tile map.
You could also do it where you spawn heroes, and then the cave or dungeon kind of grows in response to like the waves of heroes you're sending. So it'll like make it more difficult, and they'll spawn like different types of enemies, and you have to then change the kinds of heroes you're sending into the dungeon.
Like
That could be
like
kinda
a resource
interesting.
management thing.
Mm-hmm.
that's a cool idea.
Well, kind of like those. I used to play these a lot when I was younger, where it's just like two towers, and then you just spawn like you get resources and you spawn your guys, and they walk this way, and then it's like very simple 2D. I don't know if I'm describing it right. You like buy your units, right, and you drop them, and they just like. You guys ever play those?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Yeah. They're like stick figure guys, nothing too fancy, but they're fun.
love
So something
those.
like that. I think that's really cool.
I had this idea. Do you know Icy Tower?
No.
That game with where you jump up and up. It's like
Oh,
an
yeah,
early with that little guy with a hat and stuff. I had this idea that you have this giant root going into the sky. I'm a big Rick and Morty fan, and there's this episode where there's this giant root going into the clouds. I had an idea like that where
Like Jack and
you
the
need to
Beanstalk.
jump that thing up. Yeah.
Apparently,
that'd be cool.
it was Conway who wrote the Game of Life. I've been told by 4 different people.
By the
Yeah,
chat.
Conway, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun. You could also do
I actually
something
really
very
like that
cool.
idea because you could have the stock like growing, right? And you're trying to you have to keep on top of it, and you can't fall behind too much or else you die, right?
Right.
That kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or you could use, because you don't see this technique a lot, but you've got the skeleton 2D node that you can use, so you can have like a cutout animation style.
Mhm.
But you could actually grow various body parts depending. So if you just stretch that bone out, You could, for instance, use a power up to make your legs really tall so you can walk over things, or your arms really long so you can lever things out of the way. Also, something weird is happening with my green screen.
Yeah, I've also heard like a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people like not knowing how to approach the theme. Like it's some might approach it directly, like having one-on-one growth with like growth, like I don't know, nature growth or stuff like that. But we can also like have like an RPG where the hero grows like a person, like not growing like as the
Ow.
person ages, but grows like becomes a better version of themselves in a way. So,
Or it could be like literally aging. That'd be kind of cool too.
yeah. Actually, I think there was a game. Yeah, there was a game like where if you moved like, you could move only in one direction and you would age over time. And yeah, it was a sad, sad like how it's in real life. You can move in one direction and then.
I mean, if you wanted to go, because we're talking like growth is a very like it's strengthening a powerful thing, but the idea of aging, which is dear and close to my heart, as my body slowly falls apart.
Same.
You could be like a slime mold or a fungus. I mean, you're talking about like waves of heroes and waves of monsters in a dungeon or whatever, but you don't have to be the good guy. Like you could be a slime mold slowly taking over a house or a dungeon or whatever it is.
I think games where you're the bad guy are so cool. Sorry, what were we gonna say, BitBrain?
So one thing I tend to do, like when I do game jams, is I take the theme and try to like not reverse it, but try to put it in the negative space. So for example, growth can be something negative, right? So if you grow, that's bad, and then the game mechanic revolves around avoiding growth. And this is how you can open up to more ideas by trying to think outside of the box.
I mean, if people are struggling with ideas, one of the best things you can do is give yourself constraints. We talk about this, we used to have a Creativity for Coders course that I'm actually re-editing right now. But if you follow Heartbeast, Ben Anderson, he talks a lot about the fact that he's restarted this game he was working on because the scope creep was so big, he had to give himself constraints. And so he just picked random ones like no text. And it really freed up his creativity. Yeah. Give yourself random things. So if growth is too big for you, I'm only going to use the negative aspect of growth, or growth has to be to do with spiritual growth, or really narrow down what you mean, and you'll get some really good ideas that way.
I also want to say that don't feel like you have to come up with the most innovative idea ever, because I've like wanted to do game jams and been like, oh, I can't think of a cool enough idea with this theme, and I just don't participate. So like, if you're sitting there for 20, 30 minutes and you're like, the best thing you can come up with is like RPG mechanic where you gain more skills, like do that. You know what I mean? The point of game jams is really to just kind of force you to do it, and then you learn stuff along the way. So I'm making a game already, and my interpretation of growth is pretty boring, but I'm using this as an opportunity to practice all these things. Like I'm terrible at shaders. I'm trying out 3D for the first time, like just trying to like work yourself and grow as a game dev. That's like really the spirit of game jams. So, just wanted to say that, because don't get discouraged if you can't come up with $1 million game jam idea, Yeah,
and also to add to that, often it's enough to just build a very simple game mechanic, maybe even just a Mario clone with different assets. Like it doesn't even need to be the newest game idea, but then spend the rest of the time, like the rest of the 70% of the time, on polishing it. And really exploring how far you can push yourself. And it really depends what you want to do, right? But if you want to practice polishing under a time constraint, game jams are a great opportunity to do that.
Really, the idea that a simple idea well executed is so much more impressive than this amazing mind-blowing idea that's badly done. A good example of that is Godot by 22 Cans. I'm a huge Molyneux fan. I grew up with his games. I grew up with Populous. I grew up with Syndicate. I grew up with Fable. I grew up with all these games he wrote. Even High Octane, which no one remembers, and Magic Carpet. And he was so good at coming up with these incredible ideas. And then you get to Godot, which was going to be this huge reinvention of that's a very cute dog. This huge reinvention of the God game, but it was so badly executed that the potential didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my biggest inspirations why I actually became a game developer were early Blizzard games, because what they did was they just took what was already there, right? They didn't invent a new genre or something. They just took what was already there and made it better and polished it to the max, right? And I think for me that's the most fun part during game jams, to really polish a game.
I mean, an idea based on that occurs to me. You guys know Beautiful Katamari, where you're rolling around the place and you're slowly
Yeah.
getting bigger. So you're basically picking up junk and getting bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually you can swallow the solar system.
Yeah.
An idea
that
where
one.
you're just physically getting bigger, stamping on the town, that's all about screen shake and sound effects. Like, if you get that polish right, that game mechanic is amazing. If you don't, it's just silly.
Imagine a game like you're a giant, and the goal of the game is to trample as many villages as possible.
Oh,
No, you trample a village, you grow.
Looking for Jack.
yeah.
You know
Isn't
those?
that called Attack on Titan?
Sorry.
Yeah, Attack on Titan, but you are the Titan.
Yeah, yeah. You're not like the one cutting there.
Titan's revenge.
Yeah.
You know, because that just reminded me. You know, you see all those like, just ads for those games that are probably just there like for money makers, but they're cute little like IO games. I had that one with the black hole. You guys remember that? And you had to like go and envelop things, and you got bigger. And it was like I got sucked in, and I downloaded it, and I knew it wasn't like the most amazing thing, but I played that game for so long. Like, it was just such an addictive loop, and it's such a simple mechanic, you know? Yeah.
Real quick, someone in chat said that they are terrible at polishing. And Carl, I was terrible at polishing as well. We all were, I think. It comes with practice. Basically, just go for it, and you will eventually become better.
Yeah.
That's the only way to just start. Yeah.
Really, when you're polishing, the only question that makes sense is, am I enjoying playing this? You know, if you're having to work against your own game to find the fun, there's more polish to be done.
And for visual polish, Godot does kind of let you just cheat by, like, you've got really cool post-processing effects that just make your game look amazing, like, right out the box. Or, like, you put lighting, and putting light occluders on things is, like, so easy to do. And it just makes your game look like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. I'm like, no, I don't.
Polish in 2D, put a normal map on your background textures. And then when you've got 2D light going on, the light's going to flicker off all the stones and everything, and it's going to look amazing.
I'm actually doing that for the first time for this game jam. I've never used them before, and I just tried the first one. There's actually a really cool application where you just stick in your image and it pops back to you a normal map. It's by a guy who's actually really involved in the Godot community. His name's like Azayaga. Here, I'll go drop it in the chat. It's called Lighter, and it's that easy. You just drop your image in there and it makes you a normal map. It's so cool.
That's so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you can share the links. I mean, I think YouTube might remove them, so share them with me and I'll drop them in the chat.
I
Sounds
remember
good.
Black and White, though.
Yeah.
Daz saying nobody remembers Black and White. I remember Black and White 1 and 2. My problem with Black and White is I was a goth. I was a cyber goth. And I had a lot of goth points, but every time I played that game, the game world would react to my personality, and I'd end up with a 60-foot Winnie the Pooh. Like, it just made me feel so uncool.
By the way, there is a VR game similar to Black and White, and I think that's like that kind of interaction is like VR is like the king for that type of game, like taking people with your hands and like take them in your hands, or like take like buildings in your hands. Yeah, exactly.
Really tactile game.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
quite.
you know what else would work well with this theme is a Tamagotchi clone, like a life simulator.
Or like a pet
Raise a
simulator.
virtual pet.
Yeah, that might work.
I
Coming
mentioned
back
that
to
because
the
Black
game
and
jam.
White. Sorry.
Coming back to the game jam idea. So obviously, when you want to build your own God Sim game in the game jam, you need to be prepared for what that entails technically, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't know, if you have never done that before, you might not finish the game in time, right? It's like generally the thing you need to wait up, right? Do you go for something you already did in the past, so you know how long it will take you to build, or do you want to build something new you never did before, but you run the risk of basically not making it? Yeah.
Yeah, God Game is not a small thing, although you could probably make something like proof of concept, like very, very simple. Like the original that became Baba Is You doesn't look anything like the finished product. It's just very simple sprites and a solid mechanic that's fun to play.
I just finally found that link, so I shot that over to you, Redefine.
Yeah, please do. I'll send it over.
It's so funny because you see the people, like starting from when I started, you go on the Godot Q&A forums and you'll see those people, just like Godot as a community is amazing is what I'm trying to say, is like, you'll see these same people throughout like YouTube and all these places making resources. This guy's one, then like if you go on Godot Q&A, like Kids Can Code, who I think is one of the best resources, like
By far.
it's amazing how active he is on like answering questions on the Godot Q&A forums. It's like,
And
we have such a great
Godot
community.
Discord, he's on there all the time.
Yeah.
And the Godot community is actually quite young, right? When you compare it to other game engines, like when you look at Unity, it's an amazing game engine, and it has so many resources. Like there are tons of courses. You can literally spend years on getting certified and doing all of that. And I can't wait for like Godot 4.0 and the plans they have, because they actually consider offering certifications as well. So Godot has really a bright future ahead of us. Yeah.
Oh, I agree. I love making tutorials thing as well. It's
Yeah, me too.
so satisfying to see students come back with like, okay, I took your car game, but here's what I made. I made the entire thing out of candy, and I put jelly physics on all the lampposts, and it's just amazing. Don't be afraid to play with the plugins in Godot, especially if you're doing something in 3D. Some of the plugins in there are very well supported. I'm thinking things like the height map terrain generator, where you can paint them or generate them randomly. The God Rays plugin for post-processing. I mean, there's some really nice stuff in there. Scatter is an amazing plugin.
My
take a look at the
favorite
asset library.
My favorite Godot plugin is Dialogic. Check it. It's
really good.
mind blowing.
It's really good.
You can just drag it in, and you have a dialogue system with characters talking, and you can drag and drop, simply create your dialogues.
It's like it's a really good plugin
insane.
because it's something you could you can make this all happen by yourself, but it's going to save you so much time.
Yeah, it's not
Yes.
worth it. Maybe if you want to learn.
Have you guys all used it? Because so I was like halfway through making my own dialogue system, and then it dropped, and I'm like, do I just abandon all the stuff I just made and use it? Because I'm sure it does everything I'm doing equally as good, if not better. Like, what's your guys' experience like with it? Have you used other dialogue systems?
I've played with it because I don't put a lot of dialogue in my games at the moment. But what about you?
So it's an interesting one, because it's the first dialogue system plugin I've used in my life, because all the previous dialogues were written by myself, like dialogue systems. So I'm curious, like, who has written a dialogue system all by themselves? Also in chat, like, right? If you know how much time it will take, right? And that time you can save and actually have a nice dialogue system in your game, during your game jam, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's great.
Probably in a game jam. I mean, I think it's best to experiment new stuff. To like, if you're working on a big project and you just want to take a break and you want to do something completely different, but just by like creating a whole system for the game jam, that's you won't finish the game probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, for example, like, now I want to experiment with shaders, or now I want to experiment with something, and then just do a little of that. Because like game jams offer this opportunity for us to do experiments that
I mean, it really depends on how involved you want to be. Like, if you want your dialogue system to just do one thing, writing your own is not a big deal. But if you want like quests plugged in there and lots and lots and lots of different people, and you want to be able to change it easily, then maybe you're looking at a framework. framework. I speak English. A framework. I was just looking at the chat, and Seligen was saying, "I wish there were more tools that can make our progress easier, faster and easier." They're there. I mean, one of the things I'm looking forward to a lot with the next incarnation of Godot is they're talking about revamping the asset library, because right now it's quite hard to use
Yeah.
in any meaningful way. Like the stuff is there, but you don't know what does what. Like you have to go hunting and find things. Like there's very little preview information. It'd be nice to sort of get that expanded.
You're talking about like a tag system too and stuff, and yeah, cause that you kind of have to know what you're looking for. You can't just browse it, Yeah.
But the scatter plugin is my favorite by far, because you can really make some amazing stuff very quickly.
It's awesome. I just made my first contribution to the asset library. Very excited.
What'd you make? I missed it.
So, you guys do 3D or 2D games mostly?
3D, mostly.
3D.
This is my asset pack.
Okay. Oh yeah, BitBrain. Yeah. So I need to make it for 3D too because it would be very simple. But one problem I always had is that every single time I make a particle explosion, it like you have to add a timer because there's no like particles finish signal. So I just made a particles node that has a particle finish signal basically, and then it's got a few other things. Yeah, and then also if you want it to be a one-shot particle, right now you have to either set it in your ready function to make it one shot at ready or emit at ready, right? So I just made that one button in the editor saying like one shot at start, so that way you don't have to configure any of that. So you can make an explosion without even needing to add a script, like really at this point. So that was kind of like my goal. So yeah, it's on the App Store. It's called Particles Plus. I hope it helps some people because I think it's sped up my workflow considerably in making 2D.
It's a sign of a good asset, right? It's not something necessarily that isn't in the engine. I mean, there is stuff in the library that isn't in the engine, but it's just something you can do, but it's going to make it quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One thing I also wanted to mention is with plugins and Godot, often during game jams, you're not the only person working on it, and often you're not even the only. There can be other people on the team who are not even technical in terms of they are not developers, right? So for my game, for example, I've Tom. He's amazing. He did the sounds for Global Game Jam with me, and Tom basically downloaded Godot and played around with the audio bus. And he has no idea of Godot, right? But I showed him where to click, and he can basically configure the audio system, right? And the same goes for plugins, right? When you have something like Dialogic, someone who has never seen Godot in their lives can actually write dialogues with that. Where when you have your custom own dialogue system in code, that's not possible, right? I'm
curious, and this is a bit of a tangent. How do you guys find the visual scripting language in Godot?
I never tried it, but I heard it's a little broken at the moment.
Yeah, I heard similar things.
I don't know if it's broken. I just found it doesn't save me any time, because in order to use it, I have to know GDScript. But by the time I know GDScript, it's faster to type it.
Yeah, I also think that for my advice for people who don't know either and want to get started, it's still not easy to learn Visual Script. I wouldn't even say it's like necessarily much easier than learning to code, and you're going to be slightly limited in how custom you can make it. So like I think people think like there's some people who just are much more better visually at understanding things, and thus it's going to be a better system for them. But if you are just saying, oh, I think it's easier, I would push people to go for just learning to program in GDScript because it's not much harder, and at the end of the day, you're going to be able to do a little bit more.
You have to learn the skill of programming either way, right? Like, never mind what language or interface you're using, you have to break an idea down into small chunks.
Yeah.
Once you've got that down, it doesn't really matter what language you use.
Yeah.
I guess this is kind of a beware if you're brand new to the engine, which is great. And you want to make your first game in this jam, fantastic. Just be a little careful. Visual scripting won't necessarily be faster.
True.
I think visual scripting is great for tutorials for learning. Like you can actually show what's happening rather than having just code. So I found, for example, that usually people don't like me showing code in my videos because it's like, okay, that's boring now.
Yeah, it's boring.
Where having animations and pixel art is always nice to look at, right? And I think same goes for visual scripting in tutorials. You can use it basically to compare your code to what it would look visually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
By
Yeah,
the
that's
way, speaking of scripting, ACB Games has a nice scripting tutorial for non-coders. I'm gonna share the link in chat. He just released it. I think he...
Yeah, that was so good. GDScript was technically my second language, but I was only programming in Python for about a month before I picked up Godot. And so definitely by now I know GDScript a lot better than Python. And I've been like, I always wanted to make a calendar app, and I'm just making it in GDScript because it's easier than learning how to use PyQt and all those things. It's awesome. So I because I'm still fresh, but I'm pretty adept at it now. I was like, I'm gonna make this tutorial series like as if it's your first language from the ground up and get you to making games in 9. We're right now 9 episodes. You could probably make it a really basic game, which is cool. So yeah, hopefully that helps somebody. Also, I was just talking about this the other day with Rungeon, but it's like once you're too good at programming, or like let's say like I think Rungeon said he started learning programming like 15 years ago. You forget what's hard for newbies. You know what I mean? You forget about and so I think I still remember all the things that confused me from a year ago in the beginning. So I think that's why I think my tutorial is pretty good, because I remember to point out this confused the hell out of me when I was like starting up. So hopefully people find that helpful.
It's always a problem when you're teaching is you forget what isn't obvious. Like I'm doing a bunch of trying to learn shading. I don't have a maths background. I don't have a programming background. I have a theater education background. I'm trying to learn shaders. I don't have this maths. I haven't done maths since I was 16. I'm 45. That was a long time ago. I think they've reinvented maths twice since then. And I can't follow these tutorials because of things like, at this point, we want to take the product to the cosine and use a dot product. I'm like, well, I know one of these words. What are all the other ones? So yeah, there's definitely, I forget where I read this, but the idea is you should try and learn from someone who's about 2 years ahead of you. Because then they've learned the mistakes, but it's still fresh enough that they know that that's a problem.
That's great.
Yeah, someone in chat said sooner or later we won't need to program as much, just like in Unreal Engine, drag and drop stuff, which I don't fully agree, because there are engines like there was like an engine popping up. It's not actually a game engine; it's more like a game creation tool.
I could be the devil's avocado there. I think we already do that. That's what nodes are, right? They're classes. You're dropping nodes into the scene tree and they do things.
Yeah, but you don't have I mean, like, yeah, they work for generic stuff. So if you want your game to be generic, then you can just use the components. But if you want more customization and use these engines that no code engines or stuff like that, at some point you'll find out the limitations the hard way, basically, because you cannot overcome them in any way in those engines because they're limited.
Yeah, I guess what I mean is a script is just extending that node. So you're saying this is a control node and I want to add this bit. This is a sprite node and I'm adding this bit. So this might just be for me because I'm coming from a non-programming background. It was easier for me to think of it as this is a component that does a thing. It's a drag and drop component, and I just want to add a little extra bit. That might not work for everybody. Like that mindset might hold some people back. But
that's still
in a way,
yeah.
In a way, with object-oriented programming, that's kind of what we're doing. I mean, I agree. You can't just say, "Here's my multiplayer node, go." Right? You have to know what you're doing and play with it. But
yeah.
One thing I found while working on my current game project are the limitations of GDScript, especially around its own API or UI design, where you can export, for example, resources, right? But then you can't have your own resource types in the UI. And luckily for 4.0, they're gonna change that. So there was a giant overhaul of GDScript. I think they even rewrote entire GDScript from scratch, or major parts of it.
They're doing that now for Godot 4, actually.
And in Godot 4, you can actually customize the UI experience yourself that suits to your game, and that's going to be a game changer, I think. And I think not many people are aware how powerful this will be.
That's true of a lot of things in 4. right? Like the new lighting system, the new navigation system. Like there's so many little touches they're putting in. It's like, oh, that's so much better.
Yeah.
And I mean,
the
I'm
tile
a
map,
big
the tile map. I can't wait.
right.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
I'm a big Godot fanboy, but 4.0 looks amazing.
Yeah.
I will also say, for me, the biggest pain learning Godot was I'd be pushing to see what we can do. So we made this, we turned it to a course eventually, Godot Getaway. We thought, let's make a procedurally generated 3D city, cops and robbers driving game with multiplayer, because of course we did. And then we start looking at like the individual things, and every now and again the documentation would say, this documentation doesn't exist yet. Would you like to write it? Like, no, I don't know how to use it yet.
Yeah. No, we definitely need more people, and I think God of War will be that push to bring more people, because there are a lot of misunderstandings, like, oh, Godot cannot do 3D, or you cannot do a full game with Godot, and they are getting crushed one by one, but we still need more people to this ecosystem so that we can have more proof to the other people that are considering Godot as an engine.
I think as well, and ACB was saying this earlier, there's something about this community that really helps to get your mind around. Get rid of that idea of competitor. We're not competing with Unreal. We're not competing with each other. We're not competing with Unity. Godot is really good at what it wants to do. So Juan, the lead developer for Godot, was saying that Godot isn't competing with Unreal. Unreal is designed for a very large team of very specialized people. Godot in 3D is 1, 2, or 3 people doing multiple roles working together. Like you can do amazing stuff with a small team in 3D in Godot, which you can't really do is make PlanetSide 3. I mean, you can, but you're using the wrong engine, right? You can't make Arc. You can, but make it an Unreal. It's faster.
And also, who says that you can just use one engine at a time, right? For example, I have installed Unity, Unreal, and Godot on my computer because I check out all the engines, and I also want to learn all the game engines to see the differences, right? And it doesn't mean that. Yeah. Godot is really the only one I'm decent at.
Yeah, I also had all the engines installed at some point. I tried all of them. I mean, I'm coming from Unity, from a lot of years in Unity, and I stayed away from Godot because of the misconceptions that I've read online. So this is where I'm coming from. Like, I've read this myself, and I stayed away. Yeah, I mean, trying every engine, and they have different workflows, and that's probably one thing. Someone mentioned today, I don't know where, we people install Linux and they want to have a Windows workflow, and they are mad because they don't have it. And here with Godot, it's kind of the same. They expect to have a Unity workflow, but they don't have.
You hear that a lot with people who are just coming from Unity with like, why can I only have one script?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You
and I have the same problem. Like, why can I have...
you did. I remember you saying, it's like, no. You have a script per node, and you split the script out that way. You don't have 7 scripts on one node. Like, the node is the class.
Yeah, composition of inheritance. Very important principle.
I'm stealing that phrase.
I actually think that the way... Sorry, I was just going to say that. I think the way Godot is... the way it organizes nodes as classes is actually a great way to learn that fundamental programming principle. Because it was honestly, when I was learning Python just from tutorials, it was a little confusing to understand that. But visualizing object-oriented programming in classes in that way made it like, oh, this makes more sense now from like learning any other language. So I don't know. I thought that was fun about Godot, that it actually taught me how to program in general, just using the engine. But yeah.
Oh, me too. Like, I was watching a music video where a puppet was trying to convince a 7-year-old that he was a bunny, and then YouTube said, "Hey, do you want to learn about the Godot game engine?" Like, I have no idea what that is. Sure. And next thing I know, I'm like, I wonder if I can make a game about a bunny. And that's how I learned programming. Right? Is this engine that was quite easy to pick up, and then I made a lot of mistakes, but as I went on, it just made sense. Right? Like a timer node is a node for when you want a timer.
Yeah, that's I think someone actually asked where can they start like learning Godot, and I pointed to the game jumps page because we have like learning resources there, but we also have ACB has a tutorial for GDScript. Jan from Canopy Games has courses. Also, BitBrain does have some tutorials, but most of them are focused on particular things rather than
So the one thing, so I come from Java, right? So I'm a Java developer all my life, doing Java and C++. And how I learned basically Godot engine was watching the 2D RPG tutorial by Heartbeast. It takes a while. It takes like 4 days if you take your time. But yeah, I'm illuminating this as I speak.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way.
The sun.
You're doing something right now.
Yeah,
it's like a level up sound.
Yeah.
Heartbeast is
so
amazing.
check it out. Yeah.
Kids Can Code has some really good like starting tutorials. GD Quest have a lot of very good free stuff. A lot of their stuff is intermediate rather than beginner, but they do have some very good beginner stuff. There's some great free resources out there. There's some great paid ones too if you want to throw me some money. But if you want the free stuff, you should definitely do that.
What I also noticed, there are like different types of learners, like learning types. So one type, they just want to get it working. They don't want to know why it works. They just want to see the results and then fill the gaps later. Where I see a lot of people, they don't want to progress until they understand why something is as it is. And I think tutorials nowadays, they kind of need to show what they are about. Like, are they more about the why or are they more about the how, you know? Or
I
both.
totally agree. Yeah, it's whenever I make tutorials now, I really try to think about, because you see it in your watch time, right? Like you see type 1 viewers are done in 30 seconds if you're like if you just get right into the code. You have to show what this is doing, how it works, all that stuff. Where I'm like totally type 2, which is my mistake in that. It's like I want to know exactly how this works and like why you're doing this in every single line before I even start to try to do it myself. So,
I think the answer there is know what kind of tutorial you're looking for or you're making. Like in my case, what I'm making. Because you can't have the perfect tutorial, the perfect course, or the perfect learning system. Like I have plenty of students who think I'm a great teacher, and I have plenty of others who want their money back. Like it just is what it is, right? Like there's no one teaching style. Everyone at school had this teacher they thought was amazing that their friends thought was terrible, right? It's just how it is.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a limited use to the people in the jam. But if you guys all want to make tutorials, you guys should make tutorials. I have a talk on the Godot Con from 2019 about why you should be making tutorials. But learn the engine and then make the tutorials. Don't make the tutorials first because that drives me nuts.
Yeah.
What's your random question? What's the one bug that you encountered in Godot that frustrated you a lot? But you actually discovered the code and actually saw that you can work around it, you know? Because it's open source, right? You can just look how it works. So for me, it was on lighting, on a 2D light, you can assign a texture, right?
Yep.
And I was like, hey, let's drop in an animated texture. So I could, for example, animate the light shape, but that doesn't work because this is not how it was designed, right? When you look into the code, you understand why, but it took me quite a while to find out. And with 4.0, they luckily changed that, so it's not going to be possible anymore. But that was like a bug. I spent like 3 days on it, and I got so frustrated. But by looking into the code, I was like, got it. So open source. Woo.
You want to take this one next, ACB?
Yeah, let's see. So actually very recently, I think this is with 3.3, the canvas layers follow viewport is bugged. So this is like, I don't know if this is supposed to be like what's not a bug and I just didn't understand it, but it used to be that the canvas layer would only follow the viewport or the camera if you clicked follow viewport, but now it's reversed. Maybe they did that on purpose, but that seems kind of counterintuitive. And so like I was trying to help some guy on this Reddit thread, and we were going back and forth for like 30 minutes. I'm like, it should definitely be working, and then I figured out that with 3.3 it's a bug. So maybe that'll save some other people watching a hard, yeah, some pain, because I was very confused. Yeah, but so that was one.
Mine is, it turned out not to be a bug, but understanding why it wasn't a bug completely changed how I understood Godot. We were making a very early prototype for this Godot Getaway game, this course about multiplayer cops and robbers driving game. And so to test out, does the netcode work, right? We made these very, very simple vehicles using vehicle body nodes with the suspensions all done for you. It's fantastic. And I put a simple rigid body ball in. Let's just drive to the ball and see if we can both kick it. And to make sure that we don't go out of sync, I'm going to make the server have complete authority as to where this ball is. So every frame, the cars are going to send their transform information, so where they are in the world, which way they're facing, to the server, and the balls can do the same thing. The host drives up to the ball goes flying. The client drives up to the ball doesn't move. Just doesn't. And eventually I figured this out, and it took me ages. It's a rigid body, which means it moves through physics. Transform is not part of physics. Transform is part of spatial. And you have to understand how Godot's inheritance work. Adrian actually contacted me a few weeks back trying to use CSGs, and like, I have no friction. Like you wouldn't do, because CSGs aren't physics bodies. You can't access the friction.
Yeah.
And that was the one, like, it's not a bug, but it looked like one at first, because I was trying to apply real world information. There's a solid object, it behaves through physics.
I would like to change my answer to something a little better to this topic. Was I didn't understand how nodes were loaded into the scene, and that was causing my game to crash, because I made like a global variable that set player, so that all my enemies could get the player and get their global position, so they knew where the player was. And because I put my player underneath, above the enemies in the node tree. And I totally thought, and I guess it makes sense, that it would start loading nodes in from the top down. Like you start with the tree and then you go down. But it's the opposite. You start with the lowest child and then it loads them up to the tree. Which was like, so because of that, because my player was loading in after my enemies were loading in, they were like trying to get the player global position, but player didn't exist yet. So, because it would happen in their ready function. So the game would break, which is interesting.
That actually reminds me of what I saw on your stream, which was when you were using that raycast for navigation and it wasn't working. And it wasn't until someone pointed out, look at the documentation. The raycast information is sent in the next frame. You have to force the update for the raycast. It's like, okay, I can totally see why that's there.
Also,
and I just learned that you should be doing call deferred for add children, which is like cool, because I always got those, like not even bugs, just warnings. But like now, I mean, you don't notice a 60th of a second later if you spawn your bullet, you know, and it just causes like my game runs so much smoother, no more warnings, nothing. So it's great.
You don't notice it unless speed is important. Like when we were making the Mag Racer, it's a Wipeout clone prototype. So your car is going at 700 kilometers an hour, and that 60th of a second is really noticeable. Right? Every time someone fires a weapon, you just like.
Adrian, you wanted to say something?
No. I also have found like my bug was actually based on the official documentation. I wanted to make like a small game where you had like a ship that you control with the mouse, like it points to the direction where you point your mouse, but the ship would be a rigid body, not like a regular object. And for regular objects, you can use lookat and it solves the problem. But for rigid body, you cannot use lookat because it overrides like all of the rigid body vectors, basically, forces that are applied. So they actually provide the documentation, a fix for that. But the problem is the fix is not 100% working correctly, because it actually goes like it works only for half of the circle. So the ship points correctly, rotates towards the mouse cursor for 180 degrees, but for the other, it just rotates wrong. And they had to, basically, the documentation was flawed in that part. So I had to like search on the webs, and it was based on trigonometry. And as Jan said, like the math changed, and it didn't change for me, but I was not good at math. So I had to change it basically, but it was a little hard for me.
I had the same problem, and I ended up just rotating the sprite instead of the rigid body.
It doesn't work as well in 3D.
But if you want to apply the forces, like let's say like if you rotate in a direction and then you want to apply to move forward in that direction, and if the rigid body is not rotated correctly, then
I see what you're saying.
yeah, you have to do it. You have to do it the correct way, otherwise it won't work. But,
Yeah.
And
Okay, one last thing, and then we'll move to some announcements.
yes, I just wanted to say.
Yeah.
So for anyone who starts with Godot and they have issues like there's a bug or something just doesn't work, that's absolutely normal. We all struggle, and only through struggle you can actually overcome these struggles, right? And then learn and get better, right? So if everything just works all the time, right?
Be afraid something's wrong.
Yeah, like getting stuck is actually a good thing, because for every time you get stuck, right, there will be a reward of getting unstuck. Right?
For me, coding is like dealing with an angry genie. You get exactly what you asked for and not what you wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Announcement time.
Yeah, so as I was saying in the beginning of the stream, we do have some announcements, and I think the first one, we're gonna show you the rankings page. So right now it's not published; it's kind of a hidden page. But I'm gonna quickly screen share my screen so you can see it. I think though it's actually preview mode. So the cups that you see here, the first 2D cups are made by BitBrain, and this is how the 2D winners will look. And then we have the 3D winners, because we have two separate categories. And these are the cups that I made. They're low poly ones. And then the complete rankings up to 10 positions. And then the other submissions will be on HIO page. So regarding some questions here, people asked... what are those like minimum 10 ratings required? So basically most of the big jams have this I don't know, probably to prevent some entries, or like to prevent like double voting for yourself. So we also have like 10 I think 5 or 10 vote requirements for to qualify for the rankings. So basically this is if you are winning for 2D or winning for 3D, you will aim for these positions. Yeah, 2.5D, it's basically still 3D because you use 3D objects. They are just constrained to 2 axes instead of 3. So it will still be 3D winners. So 2.5D will be 3D.
And by the way, everyone in the game jam, even if you just join, you are a winner.
Yeah, of course.
Just saying, those winners are basically the ones chosen, right, by everyone to have the best impact, right?
Get your game made and get people playing it. That's victory.
Yeah. And we were talking about earlier, like how to polish your game, or how to learn how to polish your game. And I think the best way to learn this is by having other people play your game and giving you feedback, and having this opportunity of a lot of people seeing your games. And by the way, try to publish your game as a web game. This is how you can maximize your chances for a lot of people playing it. And then you'll get feedback from other people, because if you are too stuck in a project, you don't even see what needs to be polished or not at some point, and you might take wrong decisions. So this is all of us that are publishing something for the jam are winners. But of course the winners, we're gonna have some cups for for them. Yeah. Okay, so getting back to the theme, I also had this idea of taking like the concepts from Alice in Wonderland, like the mushrooms, that you can either use like for growing or like for shrinking. It's like negative growing, because you grow with like multiplying negative numbers. So having this kind of mechanic that allows you to grow and to shrink, to like bypass obstacles in different ways, or I don't know, collecting pills to have like at your disposal. I mean, there's also a nice possibility here.
I think it's a lot of fun. You can grow a community, make a visual novel. I mean, why not use Dialogic and just double down on the graphics and the writing?
I'm not a good writer, but I love those games. I can never make one myself.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a good point. Like, I think even a visual novel that has character growth inside and with Dialogic and stuff, it should work just fine. So
Something I found, and this is the basis of every single course we've done, is if there's something you enjoy playing, like genuinely you've got your own prototype and you like playing it, that's a really good sign. So whether it's a good visual novel or a platform game or a puzzle game or a real-time strategy game, whatever it is, if you want to keep playing it, that's a good sign.
yeah.
By the way, for people asking how to export their games, if you want, I can paste a tutorial I created like a year ago into the chat, how to automatically deploy your game to itch.io by just pushing it to Git. It's pretty cool. Like, it saves you so much time because you set this up, it takes you 10 minutes, and then whenever you push your code, it automatically publishes to itch.io. You don't need to do anything else. HTML5. Let me post that. Yeah, because I got so annoyed by manually exporting my game all the time, and after like the third game jam, I was like, okay, I'm gonna write my tutorial. I'm gonna set this up and chat with everyone, so nobody needs to go through this pain again.
Yeah, I'm
That's
actually
kind of
gonna...
why I did the grid maps tutorial. Is they're so good to use once you've got your head around them. Like, grid maps are fantastic. I've got one behind me, right? This is a 3D tile map, but the little stumbling blocks along the way are just going to cost you a few hours. And the game jam, do you really want to go through that? Well, watch the tutorial and you've got it.
Yeah. By the way, I've linked your tutorial. I think it's this one, the text one, right?
Yeah.
So I've linked the tutorial if anyone is interested in like how to publish your Godot game directly. Yeah. Here we have.
And let me know if you have any issues with that. Just send me an email or something, because that tutorial is old and it might not work anymore. Hopefully it works, but
yeah, I think it should be fine.
Be prepared for 7 teams going, I was late to the deadline because your tutorial was out of date.
No, yeah,
got
actually,
stuck on your tutorial.
Actually, I've just so like yesterday, Godot Wild Jam finished, and a lot of comments were popping up in their community tab on the itch.io page regarding uploading of the games. So please try to at least see if your games work. Like, try to export them beforehand. Try to see they work in browser, and even put like a version that's not finished or not polished. Put it up there so you have something, and to have like a backup in case it's not working. Like, if you try to upload and it's not working, at least you have a fallback. And yeah, it won't be perfect, but yeah, you won't go to the forums, it's not working.
And also mentally, you can literally work on your game till the last minute, and you don't need to worry about uploading when you have this automatic stuff set up. So it was quite stressful to think, okay, I have like 1 hour to go to the deadline, or I still need to build it. What if the build fails? This kind of stuff. Right, where that is out of the way straight away.
I suggest people make a little test 2D game where you move a sprite around the screen and use the tutorial to push that and see if it works.
Yeah.
Two questions.
You don't need to use the tutorial. You can also do it manually.
Yeah.
Up to you.
But I didn't know about that. I'm 100% going to do that, because that's like, I was literally, my eyes lit up when you said that, because that's been my gripe with every game jam is like, yeah, or something goes wrong. The first time I was trying to export for HTML, oh my gosh, I did like 30 exports manually. Like, that would have been amazing to have. But so, what are the rules on late submissions, Adrian? Or I'm sorry, Redefine.
Yeah, no problem. I think we don't have. I mean, like late submissions. You mean after the
My
some-
upload wasn't working. I missed the deadline.
Yeah, most people are pretty good about giving like at least a few hours where, and then Itch I think has like, when I was looking at it, you can like make a late submission link for people. So what, but it's, obviously, what do you think you would like to do with that?
right now it's if I've or is enabled like lock new uploads, so that means like prevent participants from adding new files to their submission during the rating period. I think still, as others suggested, like for example, if you have game-breaking bugs or crushing that it doesn't load, because I hosted another jam last year and some games were not even loading. So of course, if that's the case, I think it should be doable, but we should stick with the work time in this time period, and then if you have like game-breaking bugs, you can still submit. So actually, I'm gonna unlock this and. Of course, we'll check if the games were updated with fixes after that time period.
Cool.
By the way,
if you have a power cut halfway through your upload, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. By the
That
way,
stuff happens.
we have almost 730 people, 729 people that joined. Yes, it's quite big for the first installment of the
So
jam.
we're gonna have to go through them all in a week.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I don't know how many actual entries will be, but we have a lot of people that are interested in playing them. So this is regarding to for the upcoming events that we are gonna have. So we in
Speaking of rules clarification, by the way, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Van says, does the game have to expose the code?
Does the game have to expose? No, no, you're not. It's not mandatory to have an open source game.
Yeah.
Also,
I don't want to have to read your code unless it's.
Yeah, and also somebody else asked about like who owns the rights for the game. So you own the rights to your game. So you just submit this game to the competition. People will evaluate it. We will evaluate it, and the final decision will be based also on our evaluation. So this is why the rankings on each might be slightly different, because there are might be some complaints if there's no human intervention, like my game got less votes than your game, and that's not okay. So if something is wrong, we'll definitely make sure that the games are rated properly.
Honestly, I think that the one thing I don't like about game jams is the competitive streak sometimes brings out a nasty edge in people. Like, my game was better than yours, you suck. Like, sure, but that's a really subjective point of view. Like, the first thing is learn everything you can. Like, you learn so much making a game, especially quickly, especially with other people. Like, some of my best coding experiences, I was my business partner. I mean, the first time we met, we sat down and we wrote a game in 4 hours in Godot using his Blender assets. Like, we had never worked together, and we learned so much stuff. And that's a victory. Getting your people to play your game and give feedback is a victory. Finding bugs in playtests that are more fun than your original mechanics and making that the game, that's a victory. Like, there's no amount of schooling that's better than that. The prize is a nice little cherry on top, but frankly, participate in the game jam is where it's at.
Yeah, and also don't see a game jam as a competition, but more as a party. Like I just use game jams to enjoy myself and just have fun. But there are prizes, right? But the prizes are basically complementing your achievements rather than you trying just to win, right? And actually, you forgot about the journey, right?
But
it's all about the journey.
Yeah, it's all about the journey, but winning it feels so so nice. So I mean, it's still a competition, and people like to compete. I mean, this is why we have the Olympics. This is why we have competitions all over the place, because it's in our like DNA to compete. But of course, try
to collaborate.
Try to work in the spirit of the competition and not to sabotage other people or throw dirt at them. Rather, try to be a positive example and do your best and try to overcome your own challenges first. And then, if you succeed, then that's going to be your reward. And speaking of,
maybe it's the theatre teacher in me is like, no, we're all in this together. We're all on the same side, as opposed to the sports teacher, which is like, will you just go win?
Yeah, it's definitely possible to compete, but still be very
Collaborative.
kind to everybody and respectful, and really be excited for other people's victories. I think that's a nice balance and a little bit of maturity. But yeah, it's possible to want to win, but also support other people trying to win.
And also for
do you
me,
think- Sorry.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
So when I started doing game jams initially, I just wanted to win, right? I was like, okay, I want to be the best. So I got then, obviously not even top 50. I was like super bad, but I put like all my work into it, and I didn't sleep. I drank energy drinks, this kind of stuff.
Oh.
And I was really disappointed, right? And it was not a good experience. Where later on I would just say, okay, obviously I care if you win, right? But I would focus on my game. Like that was my focus, not the winning, but actually making my game the best I can do. And this was actually lead to much better results. So maybe all of us we can quickly give like our top 2 game jam tips, right? Mine would be don't drink energy drinks, right? And have plenty of sleep. So very important. Have your 7-8 hours of sleep and don't use energy drinks to stay up late.
8 hours of sleep.
And do not eat junk food.
Doesn't help.
Like don't replace all your food with junk food.
Adrian, what's your 2 tips?
I think like there's your usual tips, but I think one tip that's not mentioned so often is that there is a competition here, and people compare with each other, and I would say try to not compare, because you don't know how experienced the other people that you're comparing with are. It might be that someone has like 100 game jams done already, and this is just your first game jam, and if you're comparing yourself to that person, of course your game will be seen like probably less polished and less fun to play. So the idea is to try to not compare, and because you don't know how others are ahead of you, and it will, in the end, it will just make you feel bad about yourself, and it might even like push you to not go and do another game jam and another one, instead of you growing and like the team, like growing and becoming better version of yourself. So this is my tip. Don't compare yourself to other people, and compare only to yourself. Okay. Jan, or ACB?
Oh yeah, I would say my number 1 tip is just don't fall victim to scope creep, which was my first game jam. I didn't even come close to finishing because I had this huge thing. I'm like, yeah, I could do that in 48 hours over a week. Absolutely not. So I would say, for one thing, when you first come up with the idea for your game, be realistic about what you can do in this time frame, which is hard to do, right? So I usually think like, okay, how I could finish this in 7 days, and I'm like, okay, well then I need to actually double that, because that's real. What I think I could do is probably 7 or in 14. Yeah, I think I could finish something in 7 days. That means I could actually finish it in 9 to 10 days. So that's one thing I do. And then tip number 2 going on with that is try, the first goal you should have is to make a working gameplay loop, right? So if you're making a game like a platformer, you should be able to make a platformer where you can run, die, and then restart, or you beat the level and it comes up with whatever score yours is, or whatever the basics of your game are. And then you figure out adding your extra mechanics, adding polish. So come up with your idea and then identify what the smallest gameplay loop is that you can actually make a working game, and then build from that. And then, because you very likely won't finish everything, but then from there on you'll have a game, right? And then so the first game I actually was ever remotely successful was that I made a gameplay loop that was all right. I didn't get to do everything I wanted to, and then I spent a few days after the jam, finished it up, and now it's my favorite game I've made. It's so fun. So, but yeah, those are my tips.
The viable product, right? What's the minimum for your game to be fun? I think mine are going to be sort of a mixture of these. The big one is, so there's this idea that in order to be creative, you have to sacrifice yourself, right? You don't sleep, you don't see your friends, you don't eat right, you just sit there 24 hours a day, living on adrenaline. I don't need to sleep for a week, I'll sleep afterwards. You will make bad decisions, you will make bad bugs, and you will get sick. And this is, I mean, just don't. Sleep right, eat right, exercise in whatever way is healthy for you. Clearly, I can't go to the gym every day like I used to in my 20s, but do what it takes just to get some air in your body, just to move around some. Really take care of your body, because if your body and your mind are connected, and if your body's not healthy, your mind isn't healthy. You will make mistakes in your code. It's completely self-destructive. The other thing I would do is, so the guy who wrote RimWorld, I forget his name, talks about the 90-90 rule, which is the first 90% of your game takes 90% of your time, and the last 10% of your game takes 90% of your time. Right? So if you're expecting to get a full polished indie game done in a week, that game better be Minesweeper. Right? Something so simple, so basic that you can just spend all that time on polish. And fine, by all means, do that. But if you want to make a bigger scope game, break it down. What's the proof of concept? What's the minimum viable product? And just play with that. The original Game Jam entry for Bubba Is You is a great example of that. Right? None of the polish is there, very few of the mechanics, but the simple gameplay loop, that essential experience. I'm a big believer when I'm making games of starting from the essential experience. For me, the game is how the player feels. Everything else, the mechanics, the rules, the graphics, those are like brushes that I'm using to create that experience. So my tip is break it down into how do I want the player to feel and what's the minimum viable product to make that feeling. I can slug a third tip in there.
Yeah, but great tips. And also, if you follow them, it will be very rewarding times for you. And speaking of rewards, we actually are going to have some prizes, even though initially we said we didn't say anything. I got contacted some days ago by GDQuest, and he offered us some courses to offer to the winners. So we're going to do probably a random pick, because courses are to have like the distribution. But also Jan from Canopy Games has some courses. So they will also offer them to the winners. And also, I'm thinking like if we should add more stuff. I don't know. We'll see. But this is what's right now on the table. So this is to spice things up a little for you.
I will point out, for anyone, or for those of you who are going to win the Canopy courses, you might not, for instance, need Discovering Godot, but then you could take that course code that we're going to give you and give it to someone else who does. Like you can give the course to someone who needs it more if you don't need that.
Yeah. Okay, gonna.
Gone very quiet.
Yeah, it's very quiet. Yeah, but a lot of people joined the jam, and I think this is great. And probably some are wondering what's gonna happen next. What are the follow-up events that we are gonna have in the jam? And for this, there are some special things that. I think it's possible to give up the prices. I was thinking maybe doing also like a live stream where we pick up the winners and the winner. We already know the winners, but to announce the winners and like announce the prizes. And later, if you want to not have the prize, then we'll just move it down like to the next person. So.
Or give it to your cousin, or whatever you need.
Yeah. You can do whatever you want. I mean, either just not take it and we'll just move it to the next participant, or you take it and you give it to someone else or use it for yourself. And for the next steps for the streams that are going to happen, actually there is no, so probably you see right now there's no update on the website, and this is actually what it was intended, because the slots there are going to double. We're going to have more events, more people have joined as partners lately. So we're going to have a lot more events in the main event section. And there are going to be some highlight events that I'm going to share with you right now. So in a couple of days, I'm going to kick off the interview series with GDQuest. So Nathan is going to join us to share some tips and some secrets regarding Godot and regarding YouTube. Probably you all are aware of, like if you're learning Godot, probably you have stumbled upon his channel. He's also offering the prizes. Next, we'll have the Gotham interview with the Gotham CEO. They have a Godot platform for hosting games. So this is like an itch.io, but only for Godot games. They have some specialized things for Godot. For example, enable the multi-threaded games. So they have more improvements for Godot, I would say. Other stuff that's coming up, we also have Jonas Stroller coming here, and we're going to have an interview with him. And lastly, I don't know if you are subscribed to GoodGiz, but we'll do a face reveal live on the Godot Jam for GoodGiz. So yeah, if you're interested in face reveal, yeah, this is.
He actually has a hat. Like it's
Yeah,
his
yeah,
hat.
he has like a small hat. Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna
It'd
do
be
the
like that
face reveal.
Slipknot video where they didn't wear masks.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what's planned, and of course, a lot of other events happening. Yeah, I think we have one day. That are going to be 3 events in one day. That's going to be crazy. And also, Jay the Kobold is going to have an interview with the creator of Hive Mind game, I think. I don't exactly know the name. But a game made with Godot that he recently played on his channel. So if you don't know, you can check it out. So yeah, Godot games that were released, interviews and stuff. It's going to be awesome times. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm hyped myself to see how we can... how it's gonna come next few days. Okay, so some questions in the comments. There were
Someone asked, will the organizers participate in
Yeah.
the jam?
yeah.
I didn't even know we could until today.
So, for example, I'm going to build the game in 3 hours, upcoming Sunday.
You know, I was thinking about doing that with one of my upcoming streams.
I'm scared of it, but I'm going to show you how little time actually 3 hours are, but actually how powerful Godot can be to create lots of functionality quickly. Yeah.
I think you're going to be doing this in 2D.
Yes, not 3D.
No.
Will you be
I have to
using your own
disappoint you with
original
that.
assets, or will you be challenged by one of us to use assets we give you?
Oh, that's a good
very
idea.
cool.
Let's figure something out.
Because
something
if
out.
I do a similar one, you can give me assets, and I'll give you assets.
Let's do that. That sounds awesome.
It's on.
It's
Yeah.
on. It's on.
Yeah, actually, I've posted a poll on my community page, like, what do you think? Should I participate in the game jam or not? And it's like yes, no, or don't care. Like, and 82% said yes, like 88 votes. 82%.
If Adrian wins all 6 slots, something is up.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I mean, like, there's so much stuff that I need to do, like prepare for all of these interviews. But I'm really interested, like, in trying to participate as well, because I think the team is great, and I have some ideas that I want to put out in the world. But I don't know. Yeah, if I have the time, I'm gonna participate.
I hope I don't win, but I'm gonna try to win.
Okay,
Because I would feel so bad. I would feel like I stole a spot.
I would deliberately put in do not vote for this game. Like,
Yeah.
play it, give me feedback.
but
I don't want to win if I'm judging. That just feels weird.
yeah, but no, we'll like we'll just in case we get like we participate and we get like a lot of ratings, we'll just not put ourselves. So we'll just remove ourselves from the rankings, from the official rankings on the website at least. So yeah, it won't be any issue.
And real quick, so I'm a host of Game Dev London. A quick shout out. And I'm definitely going to play a lot of the games on stream because I stream indie games there occasionally. I'm definitely gonna look at some of the games, not all the hundreds of games, but some.
Go through all 700 games in an hour. Go.
Yeah, not all 700. Come on.
Speedrun. Someone said
Here's one.
speedrun.
Tinder for games.
I think Mr. Elliptic posted like how to do like the Tinder mechanic in Godot. He's also a partner.
Yeah, the swipe thing.
Yeah, the swipe thing. Yeah. So yeah, BitBrain. Yeah, and
Real quick, someone asked, is there an official Discord for this jam? No, but you can join our Discord servers.
Yeah.
And there are dedicated channels in the Discord servers to find people and to share your progress and
If
stuff.
you go to the Godot page, you can actually find all those Discords. So you can join the Canopy one, you can join the XP
Carry
one.
on. Sorry.
And if we haven't already, we should make just one thread on the community for like find, partners and like, maybe post roles or something. But I do feel like Discord is just so much better suited for that. But still, I mean, a lot of Game Jam I've joined do that on their, their itch community board. So we, if we haven't already, we should probably do something like that.
No, there was someone posting today, like looking for a partner to share the workload, and yeah, it seems that they found. So that happened 2 hours ago. So yeah, post on the each community, post on our Discords. We have channels for there for getting partners. So yeah. Oh yeah, Mr. Elliptic is here. yeah. I'm gonna share this tutorial, by the way. It's I think it's nice having that mechanic. And speaking of UI in Godot, so people use the engine. The engine started to be used for other stuff than games. And one thing is like the Tesla manufacturer, the car manufacturer, use Godot for their UI. And there was a job post seeking for Godot engineers instead of like Unity or Unreal. They were like looking for Godot engineers, which is crazy. I mean, like who knows Godot and like has like an actual job with it? Now actually it's possible. So okay, so
I
I've
was
linked.
actually tempted to apply for that, but I already have a job with Godot. I was like, I can't really close down my company to work for Tesla.
Yeah, but yeah, it's becoming huge, and I think it's powerful enough to be used for other purposes as well.
And I think something like this is a great example to really push your comfort zone. Like if you've only touched 2D, touch 3D. If you've never used the global illumination probe, use GI probe. Really like use this as an opportunity to grow. Like that's the theme. So you should.
Did you just call it the GI probe?
That's right. It's a probe that you use on general infantrymen. They don't like it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Someone is asking, Roger Vera is asking how we can register for a team. So you can go to the itch.io page. All the team members can join. And then once you submit the game, you can actually put in the contributors section. You can put the other partners so we can see all, like when we announce the winners, to see all who participated in that game.
I'll go to the map for GI probe. I don't care.
Yeah. It seems someone else is working for a client project that's not a game related. Does oboe shape. Yeah.
Hi, Darren.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I mean Unity and Unreal already are used in a lot of other industries. So especially like 3D and VR and AR, I think is the future, and they are starting to pop up eventually in every industry. So Godot should follow suit. I think they have a dedicated VR developer on their side.
Bastion.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Godot needs to have VR implemented.
It does.
Yeah,
That's been working
really
on
good
VR
support.
for years.
Yeah, I think now they have support for the Oculus Quest and also for the finger tracking.
Yeah.
So yeah, while people don't have that right now, in the future, more people will have, or I don't know, AR or.
I think he actually has it on his Git repository. If you look up Bastion Ole, hey, let me find his channel. He has a bunch of tutorials, and I think he has like a free hand model you can use. He's a wonderful guy and great tutorials, although his shader stuff is too advanced for me.
Yeah.
Shaders, it doesn't matter what engine, they're a nightmare. They're so hard.
I have a drama degree. I don't know this maths.
Speaking about shaders, we have a partner, Play with Furcifer, that has some nice shader tutorials. So if you haven't seen them already, yeah, you can check their YouTube page. I'm gonna quickly link the playlist to the
There's
shader
Bastion's channel. I don't know if it got delayed by YouTube or if it's showing to everybody.
My personal favorite shader tutorial is by Freya Homer, and her tutorials are insane. Like she actually draws, she actually explains to you the maths, and she doesn't start with shader code. She actually starts with math, and it's all visual, and you actually learn to understand the underlying concepts. And I still don't fully grasp it, but it definitely helped me.
Yeah, she has a big community regarding that. Yeah, she's also here in Stockholm.
And honestly, if you're somebody who's good at shaders, join a team and offer that to the team. If you're somebody who doesn't do much coding but is good at Blender, like that's a 3D game right there.
Yeah, and also speaking of game jam tips and game development in general, try to have like an open mind approach, like saying, "Oh, I'm not good at something." Instead of saying that, you might want to say, "I don't know this, but let's give it a shot and see where I arrive with this." Because I come from a technical background, like with programming and stuff, and I've learned Blender. I've learned to do a lot of other stuff like art. Now I'm actually learning how to do some music and effects. So yeah, you can do a lot of stuff. Of course, you won't do it as good as a professional, but in most cases, it's good enough, and good enough it can take you far away.
If a human can learn it, you can learn it. Some people will learn some things easier than others.
Yeah.
But like when I was in my 20s, I learned Japanese, which I've now forgotten. Because if a child can do it, I can do it, right? Like it's doable.
Yeah, no, the children do have an advantage regarding the languages because
Actually,
like
the evidence on that is not clear.
no, it's. I mean, you know what's clear? It's clear the fact that the strong evidence is that to learn a language you have to speak it, right? And
Yes, but
yeah,
the evidence tells us that children learn languages because they're more likely to be in full immersion. What you can't do easily after the age of 7 is learn a language with that accent. So I can speak French with a French accent because I grew up in Belgium, but I can't speak Japanese with a Japanese accent.
No. Accents are
It's
only
the same for me. Like I get always pinged on Discord by random people like, "Hey, BitBrain, are you German by any chance?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am. I know."
It's so careful.
I can't get rid of the accent. It's so bad. I live here for 5 years in London. I live in London.
I lived in New Jersey for 11 years, and I would get people going, "Oh, can you teach me how to have a cool accent?" It's like, yeah, go far away. It's not a skill.
Yeah. So it's impossible for me to get rid of my German accent.
Actually, there are some ways. I found some YouTube channels that analyze other people's speech, like in different scenarios, and they highlight like what things you spell differently than the natives, and you can improve. Because I was watching for myself because coming from Romania, we have like an East European accent, and it's kind of like you kind of see it at some point. And if you look at some things you can correct if you are aware of stuff. So this is also for improving yourself. So if you're aware of what you're not so good at, that's how you improve. But if you don't know, then you cannot improve. So yeah, this is why a lot of people have coaches or trainings, and even pro players in tennis, in football, have coaches. And people say, why do they need coaches? Like, right? But they need, because you need somebody else pointing out, hey, this is what you got wrong, and that's what you got wrong. So try to seek help and try to seek feedback from other people.
And you were saying have an open mind. One of the ways that game jams are really helpful when you're working with someone else is seeing how someone else codes. I love watching the streams of the other partners because, like, ACB doesn't make games the way I make games, and it's fascinating. It's not better or worse. It's just it kind of opens your mind to go. It would never have occurred to me to make the character a sprite and then use the navigation this way. Like I always fall back on rigid body, but I don't need to. Like it's a really great way of learning.
Definitely.
Hold on, again.
Yeah, it's silent. Yeah, but someone asked Ganassan if there where can people find all the YouTube channels, and I've linked the about page, so you can find the Discord and the YouTube channels of all the partners there. I've updated the list with the new partners as well. So we have a lot of channels there. Go check them all out because they all provide different approaches. So it's quite interesting to see how everyone approaches something because there's not a perfect way to do it. It's like in math, you can arrive at the solution by doing it in various ways, and here as well, like you can arrive at the final game by doing it in a lot of different ways. So probably it's good to like pick what suits you from every person that you meet. Like if something works for you, then pick that stuff, and you might get something from somebody else that might be good for you.
It's also really helpful to know the limitations of your approach. Like, I like to use this system, but if I'm doing it this way, I'm gonna have to work around it. Like, just understand the strengths and weaknesses of your favorite approach. I love to use grid maps. There's some things they're not good at. I'm pointing here because this is a grid map.
Yeah. Okay, I think we can come back a little to the theme. Any more ideas from the chat? What have you? What do you think?
Yeah, don't be afraid to share your ideas. By the way, the idea on itself is not the game.
Yeah, some people might work on a bigger project and might be afraid to share the idea or like spend 2 years on that game and then come out of the house if, hey, I finished the game and then it's a flop. Because this fear actually works against you and you don't know exactly what works for the market and what doesn't work. Even though it works for you, it might not work for others.
Don't try and predict the market as well.
Yeah.
Like the Among Us success came out of nowhere 2 years later. Like, just make the game you want to play.
Yeah, just doubling down on that. Like, definitely don't make your game to cater to what other people like. Make the game you want to play, and you're going to be all right.
Yeah, I mean, you might not be a billionaire, but you'll make a better game.
Have you seen the video by Reese about making your dream game is a mistake? I actually like that. The TLDR, basically, making your dream game for commercial purposes is a mistake, right? Because you might go down that path. You need to pursue it regardless, no matter what. And
like auteur theory. But it's such a closed way of working, right? I've got this perfect idea. It cannot change. This is the perfect game. It isn't. It doesn't adapt.
Yeah.
It doesn't grow. See, I brought it back to the theme.
Yeah, even working on a game, it's on the idea. Like, I'm working on this game and the project keeps growing and growing.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, something well done. Like, if you want to take the idea of growth, a little seedling simulator where you plant a seed and you have a pot plant and you just watch it grow and you give it water every now and again and put it in sunlight. And it's just a little simulator, right? You put in the right polish, you put in the right music and the right lighting effects, all the rest of it, you've got an amazing game. I mean, it's a desktop toy. It's not Call of Duty, but on the other hand, it's not Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Another idea I had, as some of you may know, I'm a massive Resident Evil fan. And
The village.
basically what can grow also is like a virus, right? Or some kind of mold thing. You can also play with that idea.
Last year, the viruses can grow, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can like play with that you have some kind of organism that can grow, right, based on conditions. That would be also an idea I'm playing with at the moment.
Yeah, I majored in microbiology and I did research in microbiology for a while. And like, I've always thought it'd be so cool to make some kind of virology game or bacteriology game where you just have like your bacteria and you're kind of like a Command and Conquer or Halo Wars type game, but with viruses like invading a human body. I think that'd be pretty cool.
When you guys are saying this, I'm immediately going to like growing cheese. Like taking that same viral idea, that same culture idea, but now I'm just making expensive cheeses.
Maximizing flavors and optimizing flavor combinations.
That'd be awesome.
Wasn't like a game called Pandemic? Like
And,
they're,
oh
they're-
yeah.
Pandemic is there's a board game. I know there's one based on Pandemic.
yeah,
which
no,
starts-
there is a computer game. I've played it. I played it, I think, in 2019. So because they recently released a game like the opposite, like where you have to find the cure.
It's the board game.
But
No,
yeah,
they have an iPhone game that's called Pandemic. It's really fun, and you like can upgrade your virus, so you can
Yeah,
choose
no,
like,
it's-
oh,
it's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
Steam
yeah,
game as
yeah.
well. Yeah, yeah, and people try to, yeah, they try to predict a certain, a certain event, how it will go through that game, kind of. And the developers went out and said, "Please don't do that. It's just a game." But yeah,
It'd be fun
people,
to sort of take that idea and push it in a different direction as well. Like, you take the idea of a culture growth, however you want to do that, but you're trying to play soccer. So you're trying to kick the ball using growths and tendrils.
Mm.
I don't know how that would look, but I suspect it'd be fun.
I also wanted to say, because when you're talking about your idea of just like a growing a plant sim, is just like I think it's a cute idea. But also, I recently found out that in Godot you can make the actual background transparent. So you can make a game and just put it on your desktop, and you could literally see your entire desktop, and then just have a plant in the corner of your screen, and you could like go and have to water it occasionally and stuff like that. And you can, Godot has like low processor usage mode and stuff, so you could actually keep it open all the time and it wouldn't kill your battery or like.
Remote
yeah.
the UI so you can still use the desktop. That could actually be a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Oh, so that means you can do a lot of cool stuff with Godot outside of the gaming world with that kind of technology. I mean, probably like even have live wallpapers. Would that work?
Yeah. Spectre says, wasn't there a game where you were this kind of gore monster and you grow stronger by killing everything?
I think
Isn't that
there
just
was-
Modern Politics?
No, there was a recent game released. I remember where like
Yeah.
you were like a gore master, something like 2D game. It was actually really good graphics, like really good 2D. Let me quickly.
Yeah,
check.
you're basically the thing.
Yeah, something like that.
I just got an
Mhm.
idea for a mobile game, an online competitive mobile game, but I think it's not a game jam
Online for Game
compatible
Jam. Brave.
because it's a bit too complicated. But the idea is you start the app, you start the game, and you have a petri dish, and you basically try to build your perfect breed, basically. And then when you think you're ready, you have all the weapons. Basically, that competes against others, and they basically fight. And the winner basically gets the new petri dish with the
Oh, Digimon in a
mutations.
petri dish. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I dig it.
Yeah. And the
A
loser
virus
basically
that infects
loses
cheese.
the progress.
Leave my cheese alone.
You can even do that with cheese.
Yeah. Yeah.
cheese that fight each
Someone,
other.
Valentin, Carry On. Yeah, that's the name. Carry On.
Yeah, carry on. It's
Yeah.
so the animations are so sick.
Yeah, no, it's like when people are dying, they're like, oh, that's. Yeah,
Wow,
it's crazy.
Carry on.
That game is crazy. It's really well made. I really like the art style of that game.
Well made is the best thing with a game. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the most compelling games I've played have the worst ideas behind them, like Viscera Cleanup Duty. You're a janitor cleaning up after Space Marines, but it's so compelling. Like just mopping up and cleaning up after them and just swearing at these Marines because they've got body parts in air vents, and who puts body parts in air vents? But you find yourself just playing this thing for hours.
You remind me, there's a video that I recently saw, very similar to janitors in a Mortal Kombat session. and they were like cleaning up the battlefield after they just fought, and like they were finding like dismembered limbs and like yeah, it's really great. I laughed very hard at it. They also have multiple versions, like when it's like Mortal Kombat Doctor, and it's like they bring like a completely destroyed person like in pieces, and like the assistant is like, so how are you gonna help like this person? You see it's clearly dead, and the doctor is like doing something, and then boom, it's alive. It's like, yeah, nobody really dies, you know. crazy stuff.
Another idea, well, so something I really liked, Halo Wars, a lot is one of my favorite games, and one thing they had is that your units would like gain battle experience, and you know you've got hundreds of units, and like one soldier if they win a battle, like grows, right? So they get stronger, they get a little, boosted defense and stuff like that. It's kind of almost like a roguelike mechanic, right? Where once they die, you can't get that progress back. And you can only grow their talents by exposing them, right? But it's much more removed than kind of that first person kill some guy, get some XP. But I think it's a cool way of like potentially making like a roguelike that is less stressful. Like you don't feel as bad when you lose that progress because you could just start again. But yeah,
It reminds me of the hero system in Warcraft 3 or in Command and Conquer. Was it Generals?
No, in all Command and
or
Conquer
even Red
games.
Alert 2, right? Where you can have the tanks with the ranks and stuff. It was so cool.
Yeah,
XCOM, famously.
In Warcraft 3, the thing is like you can revive the hero if it dies, but in Command and Conquer games, if that powered unit dies, then it's lost. So you lose all that.
And it also makes you more strategic because sometimes you want to protect these units, right? In a short range battle, you basically move them away and change the entire gameplay almost, right? Instead of just throwing everything you have onto the opponent, you kind of make selective decisions. And I like how these kind of mechanics change your gameplay, right?
It occurs to me in a completely different way of interpreting growth, and this would work in 2D or in 3D. But you know those tetrominos that you get in Tetris, those little blocks and shapes? Okay. You've got a little base, and you've got a shape that's coming down. You've got to place it somehow. And you've got to keep going higher. And if your tower falls down, you lose. If any of your pieces touch the ground, you lose. But slowly, there's a minimum height that you have to keep going higher than that. So you can do this in 3D with rotating it around. You can do it in 2D, but I think you could really just play with the physics engine, and then it's just getting the sound effects, the graphics, the particles.
I think that's a good idea.
Not as bloody, but you could do body parts if it makes you feel better.
Yeah. Also, this idea might sound like good for a mobile game, and people were asking like if mobile games were allowed. I think if you have a mobile game and you implement keyboard inputs and mouse and export it to web or export it to desktop, should be fine. But you need to make sure that people won't download the game, or very few people will download the game and will rate it if it's a mobile only game. So while it works for mobile, export it to web, put keyboard controls in it, and it should be fine. So that's a small.
And don't be afraid to just steal an idea, right? Like take something that's already there and just take it and try to rebuild it or polish it or build it in a way you think it should look, right? It's a good
you can't copyright an idea. I mean, don't take someone's assets and trademark. Like, don't be like, it's called God of War. Like, don't do that. But
yeah, exactly.
Okay, it seems ECB Games dropped off.
His camera died.
Yeah, it seems like he got stuck, and I'm gonna leave a little. Oh, he's back. Hey, welcome back.
Sorry, I just I have a sore throat, so I really need some water.
No problem. I'm working on the cameras as we go. So and also someone mentioned in the community post here. So if it's in the community post, I assume it's public. So mentioned like a game idea similar to Mrs.'s kind of like body part thing. So but with zombies. So you are like a zombie, and then you fix your body by taking limbs from other people, from other victims. So it was also a question like for gore. So I don't know, there is not a specific rule for gore in the games, and I think you think
does itch have an age system? Like, I think if you're
I don't know, but I told him to specify like this game might not be suited for these ages, so it should be fine because it's not specified in the competition's rules. Just other types of games are not allowed, but not
Is there any? What are the rules on like not safe for work games? Because like I don't know. I
no.
personally don't really love like the sexual games
No,
sneaking into the
not
game
safe.
jams.
Not safe work are not allowed, so they'll be disqualified.
Great.
And also,
you put a
Also
little closer on that.
harassment.
harassment,
So anything
discriminatory.
harassment,
Yeah,
racism,
yeah,
instant ban.
yeah.
Well, that stuff is like obviously very bad, but like one of the game jams I was in, I was like, it was funny because you were saying like, don't be like, oh, this guy's game shouldn't be beating mine, but it was just like basically like cartoon. It was just like a pornography game, and I was like, this shouldn't be beating my game. Like that's not fair. Like, but yeah, so I'm glad that that's not kosher in this jam. Yeah.
So it's especially the discrimination clause is very important, right? That because there will be games like that.
Yeah.
And you basically get disqualified and right. It's
Rightly
not
so,
allowed.
frankly. Like
Absolutely.
I have a zero bigot tolerance system. I think for the rules of this thing, adult content is not like pornography games is not part of this jam. Personally, I don't mind adult games, but that's not what this project is. Ivan Van was saying, what's a better way to export animations from Blender to Godot? And then someone was asking why not OBJs. I personally would say GLTF is your prime format because that's the one that Godot 4 is aiming for. It's got the best import. Then DAE, which is pretty good. FBX import does work in Godot, but it's shaky. And OBJ it's a deprecated format. Like it was never designed to bring in things like textures and materials and animations, so it just won't work. You'll have to rebuild it all from scratch.
Yeah. By the way, I used to import in OBJ, and I was like, "Oh, wait, you don't do that." No, he imported.
You just have to rebuild everything.
Yeah,
it's just extra work.
Yeah.
It's another idea is just the idea of like a horde. I don't know if you talked about like a horde growing, like the horde grows, the zombie horde grows, and then I'll toss out. I have like a list of ideas I was gonna do this for this jam, but then I changed my mind because I'm like I want to work on shaders and stuff. Is like it's a roguelike game where it's like tile based, and you get like you have to dash on your third move. So each turn you get to move one space. And on your third turn, you have to dash. When you dash, you go all the way across until you hit a wall and you kill any zombies in your path. But you have to do this pretty strategically because the zombies can move 2 tiles per turn. So, or I mean, it doesn't have to be something like that. But then, like, you have to think about, okay, like if I go here, I could take out 3 zombies, but then I'm going to be winding up where I can't run away from the zombies and stuff like that. So anyway, that's an idea, a very specific idea if anyone wants to take that. And then each round the horde would grow, and you'd get a different map and stuff like that. But
yeah, it seems like.
I mean, OBJ works. It's just not. I mean, it's not what it was designed for. You're gonna have problems with it. I like the idea of that kind of strategic play. I'm a bit of a board game nerd anyway, so that kind of very strategic placement game works. Although when you were saying it, I kind of want to use like a 3D grid map or a 2D tile map, and you have dungeon rooms that you have to place in the time as the person is running through them.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking over these questions.
Yeah. No, people are still putting up questions, and I think there are a lot of probably still are thinking what game should they go for. I mean, if you don't have any idea, you can just go for any game that has RPG elements in it, because inevitably that one has growth in it. But if you want to be more out of the box, you can take growth not in that way and come up with like a really crazy idea. Some were mentioned here. I don't know, probably some, but it feels like there are a lot of ideas for the gore type of games. So it'll be a jam. Oh, the pet tax I see again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems like it might be a game jam with a lot of gores in. Oh, BitBrain also has a cat.
Yep.
Okay, so Spectre also has a zombie idea. Yeah. Oh, your cat is really nice. I like it.
It's cat.
his name is Hamilton.
Oh,
Hamilton.
nice. Can
He has a
you
musical,
can you lift?
Go ahead. Yeah. I really like Spectre's idea, and like kind of what you were saying earlier, BitBrain, was like being the enemy. Like if you are the zombie horde or something like that, and you have to like take over some village, or like, that'd be pretty cool.
It's interesting as well with a monster like a zombie, because they're so famously brain dead. I wouldn't expect actual direct control. I would expect I'd have to put lures and repulsors around the place and try and sort of drag them in, so you get sort of a flocking behavior.
Yeah, there is actually a game called Stubbs the Zombie, Rebel Without a Pulse. I don't know if you played it. It's an older game. And in that game, you're a zombie and you have to eat people's brains. And once you eat their brains, they become your army of zombies. It's a third-person game, but it's not a shooter because you have to go and basically eat their brains. So
That's
yeah,
fair.
it's really interesting, like to be, and I think also Godot Jam had the "You're not the hero" theme. So yeah, you're not the hero, you are the enemy. So that can go,
Or
but
just some moisture farmer on Tatooine.
yeah, yeah, like every other person plays a role in all of this. So
I like the cotton candy idea you got though.
the candy.
He's mentioned a couple of times. I think it's he. They've mentioned a couple of times.
Ah.
He, she, it, them
Uh-huh.
have mentioned a few times that they want to grow cotton candy as the theme. I think you can actually do something pretty fun there.
Yeah, but yeah, it seems like a lot of people just
Do you
want
guys
zombies.
remember there was that? I can't remember the name of it. It was a game that was popular on Steam for a while, where the game was just setting fire to things. Like you have a chimney place, a fireplace, and you get these objects in the mail, and you open them and you burn them, and that's the game. It was amazing. Like it had a whole story that would unfold as you're doing it, but you're just setting fires to stuff. You'd
Hey,
find more things to throw in there.
You gave me a nice idea, like having like a forest and you set the forest on fire. The fire grows, and then like there's a
I'm gonna grow
nearby
the forest,
city.
but you do you.
Do you know The Settlers? The game The Settlers.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
there's
Catan?
the game
Oh.
the game the Settlers 3, and you can grow like trees and stuff. What I did as a kid was I would like the entire map. I would cover the entire map in trees and then burn it down.
It's actually
fun.
because the firefighters actually intentionally do controlled burns because it's really important for a lot of environments to burn. So that could be a cool game, is like saying like, here's your like area where you want this fire to burn, and then so you have to set the fire and put out the fire. Like, and then
If
you
you're
get
not careful,
points.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So based on how well you burn through there is how many like your perfectionism score, like 0 to 100, right? That could be cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that game basically has just two things you need to build, right? Planting trees and burning down trees, and like the spreading of the fire, which comes with some interesting technical challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just I'm just interested. What are your guys' like favorite parts of game dev and least favorite parts? Because for me, I think that I love solving puzzles with programming and like doing that. Not when it's like taking me 3 hours to do one thing, but like when you're solving unique challenges, and also the art. I really love art. What about you guys?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question.
Yeah. Also, this is for the chat. Also, what is your favorite parts of game development?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let us know. I think for me, it's polishing. Especially combining lighting with particle effects and animations, pixel art animations. I love that. What
I
about
think
you?
for me, it's seeing the whole thing come together. Like I love the solving problems, but I also don't love the solving problems because at the end I often feel very stupid because I've forgotten something really simple. The angry genie thing, right? Like, oh yeah, I did tell you that whenever I press any key, you should move in this direction. That's not what I meant to say, but that's what I told you.
Yep.
Why is there a zombie chasing me?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's from my alerts. I'll move this a little, like that.
Yeah, I think it's watching the whole thing come together. Like you started with nothing, and then there's that moment where, because the whole thing is smoke and mirrors, right? Like there is no 3D environment that exists. I built this thing that looks like 3D. It's been rasterized and sliced in such a way that my eyes tell me it's 3 dimensions. But there's that moment where you're working on a game, 2D or 3D, where suddenly the sprite becomes a character. That moment, where the illusion of the world is now real enough or compelling enough that it becomes its own world. That's the thing that really, and again, that's probably the theater teacher in me, but that's the moment that I really love. That moment where it's not just, here is a bunny, here is a vehicle body. It's bunny, it's my car, it's my slime, it's my dungeon, it's whatever it is. That moment where your brain tells you this is a thing.
Yeah. What I actually realized, like what I like about game development, I mean, I do like programming stuff and overcoming challenges, but I like the human part in it. I mean, most of my projects were in teams, and I really enjoyed working with other people and having these friendships and I don't know, sharing stuff. It's an awesome feel, but also seeing other people play my games and having communities, and it's just the human factor involved in all of this. It's really, really. I don't know. It fulfills kind of like it gives you power from the inside in a way. But yeah, also like all the technical parts are interesting, but yeah, just making a game for yourself and that's it. In the end, that's not game dev. What's for? It's for bringing something to the world. Like, yeah, giving. Yeah, it's also like this debate, like if game dev is an art or not, and I think it is an art, and art should be shared with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like that's I didn't mention that, but definitely like being able to like have some idea in your mind, bring it to life, and then have other people also enjoy that is just very, very rewarding. I love that.
Also, those moments where a bug becomes a mechanic. Like you didn't see that coming, but let's explore it, let's build it, let's grow it, and seeing how people react to it. That's another great reason to have your games play tested before you release them, by the way, because you're so in the weeds when you're making a game. It's very hard for you to see what's actually enjoyable. There was a little soccer game I made with my business partner Mikey, just a very simple little thing, but there was a bug in the game where when you kicked the ball, the game would pause, or the players would freeze for a second while the score went up, but the ball wouldn't, which meant if you positioned it just right, it would bounce on the back of the net and hit you, and that became the game. Can I score more than 1 point? That bug was the most interesting thing in the game, so let's just make that the game.
Yeah, this reminds me of Rocket League. I don't know if who knows that game, but they have like plenty of bugs that are features. For example, when all the wheels touch the ball in the air, it's like a rocket soccer game. When all the wheels touch the ball, then you boost your jump resets and stuff like that. So there are things that seem to be like, oh, that's a bug, but they actually keep it in the game intentionally, so for higher skilled players can use that for their advantage.
Yeah, Rocket League is probably as of late. I mean, at least throughout college, that was like my friends and I favorite game. We played that for hours. Definitely hurt my grades a little bit to have my Xbox in my house during that period, but oh gosh, it was so fun. And then yeah. And it's so what's interesting to me about Rocket League too is that it's a game where it evolves so much with the player's skill level. Like it's a completely different game when you were new to that game. Honestly, when the learning curve at the beginning, I feel like it might even be a deterrent to some players because it's kind of hard. Like it's pretty hard, but the good thing is everybody's bad together. So, you're on equal footing. And then like you see some guy fly over the arena and do a backflip into the goal and you're like, what? Like I can do that one day?
Good enough to go up a tier, at which point everyone is shouting, Ismir, why do you suck so bad? It's like, because I'm in my 40s, all right? Leave me alone.
By the way, there is some weird ringing in the stream apparently.
Yeah, I don't know why, because I removed like completely the alert box and yeah, it's okay.
Something
is constant because I have a like my AC on. I keep muting my mic.
No. It's from the alert box, like the small zombie thing, but I completely removed it. But I don't know why it still like sounds. It's
I
crazy.
mean, I have it ringing in my ear all the time, but that's
no,
because
no. It's like a sound like I don't know.
I grew up in
But it might just be because the chat is still
It's delayed,
updating.
yeah. But no, I still hear it. That's the problem. I still hear it.
I don't hear it, if that helps anything.
No.
But,
Do you guys hear it or?
I was hearing it. 1 sec.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, I still hear it. Yeah,
Yeah, it happens.
it's weird. By the way, it's 7:30. I need to run now.
Yeah.
So
It was a pleasure to talk to you, folks.
Yeah.
It was big fun.
Yeah, I think we can
Awesome.
conclude the stream right now. Because yeah, we went through all of the stuff that we had for today.
And I need dinner.
yeah, and also have other stuff to do. But yeah, thank you all for joining, and thank you all for subscribing and for participating in the jam. A lot of stuff will be coming the upcoming days, so you can check our website. I'm gonna quickly share the link where you can find all the information regarding the live streams. I'm gonna update them after this is gonna finish. Yeah, so we're really curious about what you're gonna make as games. We have some ideas, you have some ideas, so without other more talk, good luck with your games and have a nice
Look forward to playing.
day. Bye.
thank you guys for watching.
All right. Bye bye.